Okay, very good. Hope everyone's doing pretty well today. Out of curiosity, how many of you are currently in or have been in the high school sector? And so some hands, very good. Next question, how many of you are public school? Okay, very good. That helps me kind of guide things here. So a little bit about myself. I've been in the industry as a head strength coordinator for 18 years. I started at a school called Pike High School, which is Indianapolis, continued over to Warren Central High School, and then took a journey up to Noblesville, Indiana. I've been there now for almost 11 years. When I first arrived at Noblesville, we had a community administration that had a need, and but they didn't know exactly where to go with it. So they entrusted me, we worked together, and we took they had a class called APC of 87 students to now up to 690. I'm gonna jump right into this today, and you'll notice I do have a lot of slides, but you'll see me skip through many of them because I have the slides in there for those of you who want the packet, so you can kind of have that paint by number as we move forward here. So first thing I'm gonna do though, this is just, and I really wanna stress this, raw footage. I do not do Hollywood videos on social media. We film our kid. If it's great, so be it. If it's bad, it is what it is because kids are kids. So just kind of know that. So you'll see some good stuff in here. You'll see some bad, but it's just a video of a bunch of them I took off Twitter. So we'll look at this real quick. Basketball in that kid's hand is because the basketball coach wanted it. Doesn't do anything. I said, okay, we're going to ruin the exercise, but that's fine. So this was actually in January, beginning of the semester, because of some of the movements I see him doing, like on the half racks, they're doing squats, etc. A freshman coach wanted them to do it. I said, go for it. I don't know why that's on the film, but. I'll talk about that togetherness a little bit later on. It's a really big deal, and I have a bracelet on. It's actually in the back of my shirt, and not getting too emotional. We had a school shooting about a year ago, and how it pulled people together and how we were doing things even beforehand. So culturally, a lot of those things all have a purpose. Obviously, I'm gonna get into power cleans, but here's the reality. You have to have a lot more things in place regardless of any lift that you do. So our first mission vision statement, I actually tweaked when I spoke at Woodstock a handful of years ago because I took great cooks, balanced efficient movers, and I took Paul Jackson developing body armor. I'll make it that simple. We're trying to make balanced efficient movers. We screen and assess them every single day with a lot of informal assessments, but obviously we want to get them stronger. Our main goal with a high school kid, and I think it's the same thing at college, is 4 to 8+ years, can they be a lifelong learner? Can they be physically fit and be prepared for when they get to those next levels? And I take a ton of pride in that. We don't have where I'm at right now, and any students that are listening, don't take this the wrong way, a lot of genetic freaks. When I was at Warren Central and Pike, I could drop many Division I athletes, pro, you name the sport that I've trained. But I'll tell you, working at Noblesville has really made me a much better strength coach because you have to be able to assess so many different things. And especially in a public school, just because they're on the basketball team or lacrosse team doesn't really mean they're an athlete. So that's a big deal. But so what we have to do is find out their proficiency levels. And throughout this presentation, I'm going to show you what that looks like for us, okay? This picture right here, I stole from a few different people back in the day, and I put it up here in the beginning of this presentation because in the end, my objective with our athletes is for them to become junior performance coaches. They know the why of everything that we do. So when that happens, you can then empower them to be the committed, compelled leader. So how can we ask you to be compelled in a weight room if you don't have the confidence of knowing everything that you're doing and the why, et cetera? So there's obviously a lot more that goes into leadership, but ultimately, right in here, we want our athletes that are, going from that committed, compelled area. At Noblesville High School, a lot of compliancy. And to be honest with you, from a results record, that's kind of where we hang out right now, right here. This right here, we know many of them. I think it's unintentional because they're nervous or afraid. But again, the more we educate, equip, empower our athletes, the more that chance we have to be compelled. So, first things first, I don't care what exercise it is. I don't care what school you're at, professional, high school, college, my little kids, mindset. Their mind has to be right. And I think what separates some good and bad strength coaches or coaches in general are the ones that every single day will make sure that you want to use the word culture, that standard is unwavering. And the thing that drives me insane every day is we do high knees. That's part of our warm-up. I have 3 minutes, start doing high knees, and I'm like thumb to the eye, elbow to the sky, knees above your belly button. And you got this, and you've got this. Well, why is that? Mindset. And so there's a lot of other things that go into it, like I use MetroFit and Conduct, with like RTT numbers and conversations, but you have to have that ability to be on a fly. Hey, you all right, man? What's going on here? So getting their mind right, and from a teaching standpoint, here's just some ideas that you can use. Do you post and communicate your daily objectives? Do you use on a whiteboard? Do you use on monitors? If you're using Canvas or Moodle, whatever it might be, put those out there. Provide cues and corrosives. Corrosives, I stole that term from House. Joe Ken, it's great, and we have it everywhere. You'll look at all of our racks. We have magnetic clips with cues and corrosives hanging down. On our platforms, we have them taped right on the platform, cues and corrosives all the time. And it's our language that we have defined together. I want to say it again. It's the language that we have defined together, and I'm sure it will change over time as well, because we can all talk about first pull, second pull, transition scoop, blah, blah, blah. Who cares about that? You'll see here a little bit later, I have a progression called Tippy Toe Human Hot Dog, and I literally took it from Robin Williams in the movie Mrs. Doubtfire, because they're kids, okay? So moving forward, again, say you got their mindset, but part of that is understanding your athletes, and not just from a personal standpoint. That's a whole other lecture, and you'll hear from other speakers today, and how to get that done. But then, can you understand their proficiency levels? And I have a long way to go, and it's really been in the last probably 5 or 6 years, I've really started looking at the next level of strength conditioning performance for myself, because I don't have the luxury of, maybe a sports scientist or a PT with me. So watching the kids move, watching them walk, those flight hours are better than any certification you can get either. So that is why, and I'll segue that, my principle, not philosophy, because in a power clean, do you teach top to bottom, bottom to top? Do you catch, you don't catch? Great conversations at the social tonight. What works for us and the reason why is we go from the bottom up with everything that we do, because we're constantly assessing their ankles and their feet, then moving forward. So again, you have to know your athletes, what's going on before you can even write a program. And that's something you hear all the time. Coach, can you write me a program for lacrosse or volleyball or whatever? What does that look like? Can you really tell me the differences? Because we're going to have we're going to have the same principles. We just might interchange a few different items here. I'm not going to spend much time on why you teach a power clean. I put in the stuff for packets so you can use it with your sport coaches or administrators if they kind of want to know more about it. I think everybody in here understands it. I'm going to go right down here, though, to why bottom to top. One, again, we're going to see where the asymmetries manifest. We're going to develop that push to the floor to be the first movement. In a large program, you have large variances in the movement proficiencies, and you build a house from the ground up. So everything that we're doing, it starts on the ground, we move forward. I believe a power clean, make it very simple, is nothing more than a sexy high pull with a sexy front squat. And if you can't high pull really well, and there's stages to a high pull you got to break down, and if your front squat's not there, you're not doing a power clean. I will let you front squat and back squat in our facility with a heel lift if you're not a 3, but you're not power cleaning yet. We're going to do other progressions that get you there. So, and you can see that when you watch an athlete clean right away, you'll know their score by how they catch or where they're at, et cetera. So that takes time, again, flight hours of watching things, okay? So right here's a video. This is what's interesting. This young man here, he's now a Division I baseball player in the Big Ten. He power cleans, he's about 285, 290. And let's not even get into a stance. I know it's too close, but 290, he's a 400-pound squat, all these kind of things here. But I've been telling him for 3 years, your ankles have not grown out of your being immobile. They're too mobile, or they're too immobile, I'm sorry. If you don't get this fixed, you are going to have a UCL problem down the road. I guarantee it. And guess what? He is out right now with a UCL problem. And he didn't listen. I told him, I'm not the guy who can overall fix it. We're going to give you some interventions, but these are some suggestions of people that are better. So if you watch right here, this is why I'm constantly looking at feet. I'm like the foot pervert. I'm not kidding you. It's like all the way around. Look, see what's going on. So right here, see right there, they came up off the ground. We have an issue. Now, from the front side of that lift right there, it actually looked pretty good. But I don't care about the rest of it. If that right there is manifesting and we allow it to persist, we are not mitigating anything. We're kidding ourselves. So let me fast forward here. I'm going to come back to a slide. I should have rearranged this. This is the analogy I use to help people start to understand why we do what we do. I'll say this. You've all used a garden hose before, right? And you lose pressure. And it's not because you didn't pay your bill. It's because there's a kink. So what do you do? Somebody answer. If there's a kink in your hose, what do you do? You get it out, right? But how do you get it out? You identify it, you unkink it, and you start working, and then what does that happen sometimes? The kink presents itself, right? Then eventually you get a new hose. Here's the issue, and I'm not perfect by any means. I'm on this journey with you. Having the ability to identify the kinks and understand them, I think is really number one. And especially with adolescence, puberty, that big P word, one day they're here and then they're all over the place. It's going to happen. So, and as kids then start to specialize in sports, you see those things. So again, identify the kinks in a hose. I'll go through with you some of the movement screening things that we do. I don't do a ton of them. There's a lot of great ones out there. As long as you're doing it, I think it's a win. I'm going to back this up here just a tad. Again, this right here is a big one as to the why of the power clean. Why I believe it's really big for high schoolers. I know the arguments and I know the reasons why maybe at other levels they don't do it, and that's great. But number one, I'll tell you this right here, instills confidence. We got a young man right now who might get picked today in the NFL, and he was at IU. I remember he's at IU now, power cleaning, who knows, probably 385, 390, squatting 600. Junior year, he's a real quiet kid, finally power cleans 265 the right way. And all of a sudden, he was a peacock, man. And, now the kids want to come into that area. If we want them to make that weight room their second home, are we making sure that they can come in there and be comfortable in there? Who wants, let's say this, your mom or dad make you go to piano lessons. Well, you suck a piano. Who wants to go to that? So getting that confidence piece, because if you can do a power clean with all of our check marks in the boxes, you're going to be confident in the weight room. So we make it simple. And our videos aren't perfect here. This is my former assistant. So we call it highly effective, ineffective. And the main difference between the two is kind of more your triple extension. So, and I was going to have Nick come up here and demonstrate a little bit, but for viewing angles, you may not be able to see it. So right here, we get into a good power position. I would say he does that slow right now for the demonstrating side of it. And we're trying to get a good power position. We're going to go through the heels, get a pull, get a shrug, get a little bit of contact with our quads to the bar. I know some people don't believe in that. That's fine. And then finish in a good triple extension. We want our triceps parallel to the floor. I do ask our kids not to catch high right now. And the reason being is their flight hours, their training age is so low. I need them doing this stuff as much as humanly possible to become proficient at things. And we're on a block schedule. And that's another thing that goes into training and why you do what you do. So for us, highly effective. Again, can we get a good to great hinge, readable-ish chest, weights on the heels, strong shrug, quad at the bar up to the pecs, feet popping the floor. The other things we also tell them, our kids all the time, is this. When they're getting their power position, I want second knuckles down, and I want to see a scap retraction every single time. So second knuckle, scap retract, then go. So that's kind of the next levels of things that we're doing. But what you'll see, especially in a large group, we will have a group of 14 going at one time, right? Power cleaning. You're going to see about 8 different versions of that clean constantly being performed because of where their proficiency level is again. You know about my kinks in a hose. This is a daily process here. So movement screen things. Coach had the overhead deep squat in his last video here. We do it every single day. And I'll tell you where the learning curve came from. When I first was a strength coach, we'd go air squats. It'd be, okay, we're right here. Okay? That's fine. But now let's get you here. Just progress it there a little bit. And if they're not a 3, when they bend perfectly down, we're doing heel lifts. I'm getting with our ATCs. We're manipulating their hips to see where those issues manifest. And a lot of times, it's not rocket science to get them into those positions. But I tell you right now, I'll say it to Nick, if you're not a 3, what do you do? You walked into Knowles High School right now, and I'm gone. You said, if you're not a 3, what do you do? You're going to have 100-plus voices go heel lift every single day. So if you're not doing a heel lift, if you don't have a heel lift, and I see you, let's say here, or up on your toes, whatever it is, now you have a problem. And I tell my athletes all the time, I love you when you walk in, I love you when you leave, but sometimes you're not going to feel it. That's one of them, because you're not being mindful as to what's going on. Other thing that we do, Kelly Starrett, give him a shout out. Now, if many of you follow him, he's fantastic. He spoke at our place a few years ago. He showed me a really great assessment tool I call Supers or Superman, Superwomen's. I'll show you that here shortly. And then once again, what's that front squat look like? I think that's a truth serum. You can do back squats all day long and it look okay. Then a front squat comes in and now we have issues. So then we also finish with what's called a SOT squats. And I am going to have Nick, who can't really do it anymore, a former athlete of mine, and I'm going to crush him at 40 years of age, torn ACL, and see what happens here. So this right here, I'm not going to play the whole video. This is, I'm sure most of you know this, so I'm going to pick up the pace on this a little bit. The overhead deep squat, just like the movement screen here, it looks just like this. That's one of my former assistants. I love America, baby. And so we actually have this loaded in our Canvas page, which is an online warehouse for we don't have books anymore in high school, so everything's there. So this video, I do front and side, and then I actually, as the teacher, go ahead and go through the language that we use with our athletes so they can constantly review it. I also have set up in Canvas a rubric. So I'll score the kids, but not for points, so they know all the time if they're 1, 2, or 3, or 2.5, whatever it might be. So we test our kids on that. You must be a 3. Look just like that young man did there. I call it the American Idol golden ticket before you're doing multi-joint movements. You have to be. Otherwise, there's a kink in a hose. So the next one we do is a Superman. Does anybody want to jump up here and want to try something out? I promise you I can do it right now. Any brave souls? We're all coaches here. Come on up, coach. So here's what we're going to do. And by the way, there is a lot more that goes into the overhead deep squat. And I know Coach just hit on it too earlier that you have to pay attention to make sure that they're legitimately a 3. So let's say they're a 3, but you're looking at their feet and they're just not quite getting there. What's going on? So this is a great assessment we call Superman or Superwoman. What I'm going to have you do, Coach, and I'll take these off so you all there can see. You're going to go 1 foot, probably barefoot the rest of the presentation, 1 foot in front of the other, heel to toe. Then what I want you to do with that trail leg, so it's going to be your left leg, bring it out to about hip to shoulder width apart. A little bit more. Point those toes straight. I tell our kids all the time, I want lasers going straight ahead. Now, right now, he's cheating. Because right now, this is what it looks like, okay? And this is a big deal. See his front toe or the back toe? It's there. I need it at least at the back heel, okay? So pull it back there. Now we're going to play a game. You're going to be Superman. You're going to go down as low as you can. I want your hips below your knees, and I want your heels and toes to stay flat on the ground the entire time. All right? Go ahead. Keep going. Yep, keep going. Keep going. Awesome. Your right toe came up a little bit, but really good. Okay, stand up. Switch your feet. He's making it look good. Go ahead. His right heel's coming up. His left toe's coming up. Very good. I always do 3 claps. 3 claps. 1, 2, 3. Great job. Can I have somebody else who may not be as good as him? Anybody? Anybody? Any brave souls? Somebody's coming up here. I'll show you. Both of you guys can. I did this with, I won't name the school. It's a university that I went to, though. Some of their basketball players were in doing a visit for exercise science program. They're starting point guard. He's from Atlanta, by the way. Great kid, can jump out of the gym. I did a super, and he was broke. It was all over the place. All right, so once again, guys, we'll just face this way here. Front foot here, heel toe. Widen up to about hip width stance. Perfect. Good. Arms out in front. And then drop down. Ooh, I heard Rice Krispies. Heels up off the ground. Heels up off the ground. Your depth's there. I need to get you lower, 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 lower. Up. He's falling. Okay, good. So relax. Stand up. Switch your feet. Try it again. Better. Heel's still coming up. So, okay, stand up. Very good. I'm going to have both you guys here. You guys good to keep demoing something here? Okay, very good. So that just tells me we have Achilles tendon issues and there's some other things that are there. Once again, it's a different presentation, but now you're assessing, and like, at the very least, we have a problem here. How do we fix it? And then trying to find out those pathways to do that. I'm going to skip around here on a presentation anyway. I don't like being structured. I'm going to show you our SOT squats, okay? And I'm going to make a prediction right now. Both of these guys will not be able to do the first primary movement of it, and doesn't mean, you guys are probably stronger than me now, doesn't mean not a good athlete, but I'm going to point some things out. So here's the deal, okay? Nick's relieved because he couldn't do these at all yesterday. You guys are going to come over here, and a poor man's version of this is going, if you got to stand up and move, do it, is using a wall, okay? So what we're going to do here is they're going to get about a fist outside their shoulder, and they're going to walk up to the rack and place this bar right against it. And they're not going to be allowed to lean. And what their job is going to be, and I'm going to do it with you, is to go all the way down, feet, heels and toes flat in the ground. And then once they're there, can we do an isosceles triangle up, back, and down? Okay, who wants to go first? You got it? Okay, here we go. What's your name, by the way?
Miles.
Miles, Coach Clarke, nice to meet you. All right, Miles, let's see what we got here. So right there, he's good. Get forward, forward, forward. So, and this next, what I'm talking about is in the presentation for you, by the way. Make sure he's got no lean. He's pretty good. Move your toes up just a little bit forward, and then get whatever comfortable squat stance you want. If you're a little bit wider, toes slightly out, whatever you do. And then I need that bar touching this the entire time, and you're going to squat all the way down. Bring the bar with you. Bring the bar with you. It's coming down. Go. Keep going with it. Keep going. Got to get lower. Got to get lower. Oh, he moved. All right? Stand up, try it again. Stand up, try it again. So watch me here. You're here with the bar. You're bringing that bar all the way up and down with you, okay? Get closer. He's cheat coding it right now, okay? Don't be embarrassed. It's a humbler. Keep going. Keep going. He's a strong guy. Here's my pinky. He gone, okay? Very good. Step aside. I'm going to have you go, sir. All right? So right now, my first check is his chest is not on the bar. He's not, yep, and now we're getting more vertical, okay? And by the way, with athletes in your gym, have them spot on one knee behind them, okay? Head straight, get lower. His will be better. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Oh, we cheated it. So what it should look like here, guys, though, and again, I'm 40, torn ACL, and I'll probably screw it up right now. Can I come straight here and straight up? And I go right like this. See what I'm saying? Now there's the next part to it that assesses the T-spine. So when we get down, Nick, come on up here. Thanks, guys. You can take a seat. I appreciate it. Nick, show him your socks real fast. Wish I had something lower. Okay, he's going to fight and get low. Keep going. Keep going. Not bad. All right, try pressing above your head. He's going to fall. So watch this. We're going to do a heel lift again. Here we go, Nick. Toes. Come down. Let's take that heel lift about an inch of their back heel. Now Nick's going to be able to get in that proper positioning. He's getting low, low, low. Now he's there. There we go. Back, forth, up, and down. So then we can progressively get him into those spots, and you're going to feel a T-spine. And what you're going to find is even somebody who's proficient here, they're all of a sudden go, Coach, I feel it here, here, and here. All right? When everybody wants to roll out, we talked about that last night at dinner. Who has all the foam rollers? And that's all kids want to do. I want to burn them. That's all they want to use foam rollers to get out of things. I actually played the rollout song yesterday in class. I was like, all right, we're just going to roll it out. But now when you go to the rollout SMR area, use something that's tangible because we just identified the areas that you need work. And you can do the same thing. Where are we going to go? Say the wall's right here. You can do the exact same thing, nose to the wall, straight, oh, I almost screwed up, straight down and straight up, okay? Any questions on that piece there while we're talking about it? These are all things, and you saw in early on video, that our athletes are doing right off the bat. And we'll mix them in occasionally just when I feel like we need to humble them out a little bit or see what's going on. So there's some side squats, overhead deep squats. Those are pieces for the golden ticket. We haven't even gotten in the power clean yet. But that's why I said to you earlier, there's so many other things moving forward before you can get into this lift. And everybody talks about the big three. I believe about 90% of people out there shouldn't be doing the cleans right now until they get more educated. So is the athlete mindful? Have you assessed them? Do they know what their assessment needs are? Are we fixing them? Okay, so here we go. Checklist talk about, okay? Write down a checklist. And again, I have a lot of information for you to take home. Sexy high pull front squat equals sexy clean. Solid power position. Okay, these are one of our 8 things. Can we use, and we're really fortunate with our platforms, it's got a big N on it, right? That N's perfect. For most people, the instep of your shoes can be right there on the trim of the N. So we have a marker. Then when they finish, you know, we're a couple inches outside. So the good power position for us is right here. Feel the steel. We go from here, never look down, knees out a little bit, and grab that bar nice and smooth, knuckles down, scap retract. Now, do they have a good shrug? And this is an assessment tool, too. I go to kids all the time. I'll say, hey, you care if I touch your leg? You got to say those things. I'm being serious. No problem. I go, I'm going to move your shorts. And if I see middle or lower the quad or red mark, they're not getting their shrug in there. That's one of the things you can tell. Because if it's higher, we're getting our shrug properly. And that's, you'll see your better athletes struggle with that because he has to be more mindful of it sometimes. Okay? All right. Do the hips come through? You know, I've listened to presenters before that say if you're crashing your quads on the bar, you're doing it wrong. They're not wrong. They're not wrong. But for type of athletes I'm working with, if I don't have them do that, it's more of a gentle pimp slap, by the way, coming through here. If they don't do that, we're never going to get triple extension. You know, when the Lord was giving out the fast twitch, They were doing something else, okay? So we have to have that there. Is there a pop in the feet? When we come up here, am I hearing it? Why? Kind of demand that triple extension. Now, not to the point it's a pinata, but et cetera. When you catch, you're catching here. We all see the videos. People like this out there. Shouldn't be cleaning. We want that triceps parallel to the ground. With that, your bigger kids, and at the college level especially, some high schools I've worked at, they're massive people. And Coach earlier today talked about femur length, angles, all play a part. Stiffness in hands, big one in wrists. Now, the stiffness in wrists for some of the teenage boys, I'm not going to get into why that might be or not, but the reality is that we have to make sure that we can get our elbows up. So how do we do that? We always start, where's my dollar out here? Right here, bars here. I tell it's like a baseball pitcher. Baseball pitchers here, they're going to move their hands on that seam, right? Without anybody seeing it. You're going to go from here, and then when that bar starts to get near your hips, you're going to drop into your fingers. And then we're going to swivel it around. It's that simple. Some kids are 2 fingers. You have to go to a strap because they're too dang big, do it. I do not have that problem. So you'll be no issues there. But girls might be able to get here, but most guys 3 finger. Then when we catch, kind of in that good athletic stance. I don't want you getting too low. I don't want you catching high. Again, my why and reason for that is I'm developing these kids as athletes. I want them bending as much as we can, okay? So, moving on. Again, highly effective. The real big difference for me is how the hips get coming through. Highly effective mover. Show this video here again. Get a good power position here. And all I'm talking about here is till we get a shrug and then the quads contacting the bar. Obviously, I want it much faster than that, but this is for demonstration purpose. So again, for us, highly effective is get up on his toes, our quads hitting the bar, and are we hitting it here? I'm good. Now you go to Boise State or wherever you're going to take on, have at it. Let coach work with you, because I'll bet you, coach, if you get a kid like that, sky's the limit now. He's not wasting time. He's not unlearning and regressing. Again, effective mover. As you watch this video here, positives, we have fluid movement. It's a decent drop, decent pop, but the quads don't come in contact with the bar, and we're not getting that full triple extension. It's good. We're getting there. You're safe. It's not bad, but you still have some ways to go. So that's the language we use all the time with our athletes. And I think that's language you should use at all levels, so they understand what's going on. Here are our 8 traditionalist things that we do all the time from our assessments and do. Yes, sir.
I struggle if I have an Achilles heel as a coach to teach the catch on the Achilles. I'm terrible at teaching it. I personally have had 3 reconstructive surgeries on my wrist, so I'm like Nemo. I got a special. I can't catch it.
Then you don't catch for me.
Right. So are you that quick to eliminate the catcher?
If I have to, yeah. If there's a, sorry.
The majority of your kids.
Let me state this question here that he asked so we can hear it. He asked basically if you have make sure I say this right, if you have an athlete with an immobility, they can't get their arm up from an injury, whatever it is, how do you move forward with that, or what do you do? In a situation like this, if I know we're never going to get there, whatever, we're going to eliminate that from that movement. I don't need it because, and I tell our kids this all the time, even because when they're catching, they're not quite getting, I'm like, dude, you're fine. When they want to go punch a wall, the purpose of the athletically based part, you mastered. This is a little extra, so then I'll take that off. And that's like with our front squats. It's funny, I used to teach way back in the day cross grip all the time, right? That's what I knew. Only time you do cross grip right now is if there's an injury that we have to put you there with. Otherwise, how's that helping out from the power clean standpoint of it? And once again, these are the principles that are guiding me as I'm trying to, we lost power. No, we're back. These are the things that, I was just talking too long. These are the things that guide me with a high school age athlete. If I'm at Kennesaw, I may do it differently. You see what I'm saying there? So what other questions do we have with this? I love it. Okay, so the SOTs, the overhead deep squat, we're right here. I have a podium that's probably 20 feet in the air. I stand on and do them with them. So we're right here. We have arms up, cues. We're going to go pop, drop, then up. And then we work on hinges all the time. We have 27 PVC pipes, stations that put it behind their back like the dowel rod there, and we'll measure to make sure they can hinge it properly, all those things there. Power position I already talked about. Deadlift shrug. Our deadlifts, most of the time, are double pronated grip. Why? For the power clean. When we will do some after school work with heavier deadlifts, we'll use alternate grip. Total tangent here, but whatever you're doing in your rooms, do you have a why for it? And I believe if you have a why for why you have that grip or whatever, you're doing it right. If you don't have a why, just rethink it. Maybe it's not wrong, but think about that in all your programming. Tippy-toe human hot dog, okay? Nick, come on up here. There's a video of it too. Bring that bar while I'm talking about this. High pull, and then we have hinge push drop pop. This is a squat here, just sit there for a minute, on a video. So those of you who couldn't see, Nick, move out of the way, please. And I'm going to go through these pretty quick. So that's what we were doing right up here. So that gives you a better view. For those of you in the back right there, can we get all the way down, get that isosceles triangle. And what we do is when you go down, up, down to the front, that's one. We do 3 in a row, and then that's like 1 rep if you want to look at it that way. Again, here's your cues. So you'll have this in your packets today, so you don't have to worry about that. Overhead deep squat, talked about it a little bit earlier. Same thing here. We want to focus the knees out. We want to look to make sure that the heels are driving through the ground. If your heels are coming up, here's a quick fix. Tell them to curl their toes up. Maybe that does it. I mean, who knows? It doesn't always have to be, oh my gosh. And then pull those knees out just a little bit. And that's one of the things too. We see a lot of kids, because we do pistol squats every single day. And all of a sudden, or even when they're squatting, the toes going out, the knees going in, the valgus, all those things there. So how are you assessing and managing those pieces, okay? Front squat here, for us, there's your cues there, 3-finger grip. Now obviously we do these in our racks. Knees out, I would like him a little bit lower. Triceps parallel to the floor. One thing you can't tell here, I ask our kids to get a slight hinge every single time they do stuff. Even when we're working dumbbell work, get a slight hinge, okay? The more consistent you are with your language and it carries through all your movements, the higher proficiency level your students will have, bar none. Power position, again, these are our common terms. Are we in a jumper stance? Feel the steel, hinge your hips, drop your hips to the bar, all those things there. And you'll see where it says, put your fingers at the rough and the smooth. If you feel the bar, it's smooth, then it gets rough, put your index finger there. For 99% of high school kids, that's going to be the proper grip. Then from there, you have to tweak it a little bit. But they get too wide, we have a bad angle here on the UCL, we have problems, okay? So this will show a video here getting in a good power position from the side and to the front. That's checklist number 1. With our rookie athletes, even if they're not a 3, they don't even move the bar. They'll come in there, we'll do 3 sets of like 20 to 30 seconds of just power position hold. Let them feel it. Then the next day, we'll see where they're at. So you have to be very aware, again, what your athletes need and don't need. Deadlift shrug. You all know what the deadlifts and shrugs are. Again, we're a double prone position. And then what we're going to do is when you get into what would be that second pull phase, is this the tippy-toe human hot dog. And I want to get those shoulders really high, and I want our quads coming through and pimp slapping that bar just a little bit, okay? Let's see here. Tippy-toe human hot dog. This is where we're at. Nick, I probably won't have you do it right now. See how it gets really high on that? I want that exaggeration. In the real lift, is it going to look like that? Rarely. But when we're practicing our progressions, for sure. And one of the things, too, I call these, this is row 1 and row 2. When we do our programming, the majority of time, they will do some sort of a complex here prior to going to their power clean. So whether it's working just front squat grip, whether it's working the tippy-toe human hot dog, they're going to kind of prime their bodies prior to doing the whole movement itself, okay? High pull is a big one. A lot of people do it, and they take it for granted. Again, sexy high pull, sexy front squat, you're winning. So again, we have the same exact cues for power position then from tippy-toe human hot dog. Now let's see, now what we're going to do here is after your quads hit the bar, pull those elbows straight up. A lot of our athletes do this, right? They're here and they're pulling back. Whether it's right or wrong, you'll see me in the weight room. I look funny as all get out. I'll be like, hey, B, gotcha. Turn it over there a little bit because we're pulling backwards. So again, though, I have the cues on the platforms. I have them on whiteboards. Have them on a sheet. They're teenagers. Rarely read them. Pisses me off. You know, it's like, what else you want to do? But you have to keep putting at least in front of them. So main things here are a hinge, a push, a pull, and a drop. Get a good hinge, push your heels through the floor, pull that bar high, drop underneath it quickly, and pop those elbows. Those are the main cues I'll use with our kids once they've shown a decent amount of proficiency. Hinge, push, pull, drop, pop. Okay? So we'll see what this one here looks like. And again, sorry I'm not using more people, but I think for viewing it's better if we do it this way. Okay. Some supplemental things. We'll kind of fly through these just so you can have them. And there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. Right here, one of them we're using just a band. Then now we're at our hammer strength, dual adjustables, which you can do about 200 some different exercises on, which are awesome. And we have some bands hooked up there as well. So what you're going to see here is just working a little triple extension coming through, or getting our hips stretched, to say. Really simple. And we do many others, like I'm sure you do as well. I like coach's variation. I wrote it down. I'm stealing it because I have the guard knee pads. We have the slam balls. We're doing that as soon as we get back on Monday. We're adding that med ball in just to kind of kick you up with it. Power clean complex. This is some of the things I was just mentioning that our kids will do prior to doing the full clean. So they're going to do a hinge bar routine, tippy toe human hot dog. Then we're going to go into the high pull. We'll even work a lot of times with snap downs, whether it's a power clean grip or snatch grip. I don't have our athletes snatch very often. They're just game's not that tight. I have a couple that we do it with, but it doesn't mean I don't work the grip from top, getting low on that kind of stuff there. But again, can you dance with that bar? You have to. That bar is your best friend. And so we have them touching bars 24/7. Quite honestly, the only reason I have machines in our facility is twofold. Number one, I call them independent learning areas. Even though they want to sit all the time, it allows me to have 100-some kids, and they go through it. Then the other one, with some of our lower-level kids and that aren't proficient enough, we can do some circuit training and get them going. All right, but otherwise, it'd be bar central. I'm not going to play this, but this is a video, and I can send it to anybody they want. This is it's about 6 minutes. What you see I did here, and this is in Canvas as well for our athletes, each one of these kiddos right here is going to be doing a different, actually I'll play for a second. So they're all doing a different progression at once right now, just from a teaching standpoint.
As you're going to start seeing here for us, and once again, we got high school kids, probably nothing here is exactly perfect. You're going to see for us.
See, like Rico does a great job popping his feet, but his power position is too high. And I can tell you right now, when we do some of our hip mobility stuff, he's like a brick. His hips are awful. A lot of our basketball kids right now, that's the biggest thing we're doing in our off season, is their hips are garbage. And because all they're doing is playing basketball 24/7, it's brutal. When, like I say, a 40-year-old man with a bum ACL can out-hip mobility you, that's sad. So right here, now Breidenfeld's getting tired, but watch his pull. He's starting to pull back. I'm glad he's doing this video. So those are the things I'm looking for all the time with our kids. Because if they're manifesting, how are they going to be a highly effective power cleaner? How will we be a highly effective multi-joint mover? Okay? Maddie, she's getting tired. Her hips are too high. She's trying to do a little tippy-toe human hot dog there. So you get the point of what we're doing. Again, I'm going to circle some things back around. I'm going to take some questions here. It's about this size in our weight room. It's about a 4-foot by 6-foot sign that hangs up right above my office that I point to every single day. Every single day, I ask you where you're at, and I'll do it this way. Standards-based learning for the teachers in here. Right there. Right here. Where do you think you're at today? You're here? I got you here. You're here? No, dude, you're way up. You have references. What do you use those kids so you can constantly assess in a positive way, in an engaging way, but also you got to keep it real from time to time. Because if you don't have those things in place, and I'm telling you, I did not for the first 10, 15 years maybe I was doing it. It was just more reflection on the programming. I think you're missing the boat on a lot of things there. At the end, I really appreciate Hammer Strength and everybody being here. It takes a lot of time away from your family and all that good stuff. So if you got any questions, throw them at me. There's a lot more to this, but I can't believe it. I did it at 49 minutes. That's a record for me. My wife said you won't get past slide 1. Yes, sir.
Where do you program your mobility work that you do until it's direct?
So,
Rest or pre, post?
so great question. It's not going to be as colorful as active rest or regeneration days for this. It'll be stations throughout the school day. And then depending, like our basketball team right now, I changed it up last Wednesday because I assessed them kind of by accident because I had a hip mobility station in there. And as we were demonstrating, and I pulled this doesn't matter the kid's name, kid up there to demonstrate it, and it was brutal. Pulled another kid up, it was brutal. Well, guess what? Wednesday, I reprogrammed things, so we spent a lot of time on that. So you could look right now after school with that group, more active recovery day, if you want to say that's what they're doing, but it'll be stations. But I laugh because we have a nice big turf area, and they're going to squats next. So I have to be mindful of what's happening next if I want to get value out of it. So I'll say, okay, we're doing hip mobility and foam roll, boom, 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 and it turns into sitting on our butts the entire time. So, but hopefully I answered that properly for you there. And there's a lot of different versions of the hip stuff that we do, pardon my language there. What else we got?
Are you on the block schedule?
Yes.
You get 90 minutes?
We good? Okay, gotcha. Oh, sorry. The question, not good at this stuff here yet. The question was, are we on the block schedule? Yes, and that does go into programming. So we are on more of a traditional block. People call it different things, but it's every other day for 90 minutes. So one day we can get them 3 times. This is during the school day, and 2 days, and then the other week 2 times. But all of our kids, the majority of them are in class. And then, so in season, we don't ever train before or after school because they get it during the school day. Postseason, preseason, we'll do typically a maximum of 2 more days per week of lifting, maybe a 3rd day of more athletic enhancement type, speed of development type things. I'm not a fan of general block, though. I think it takes away from some things. Yes, sir?
For the high school population, what kind of intensities do you work with? I know they're learning a lot right now.
The question is, for the high school population, what type of intensities do we work with? Can you specify that more, like?
Do you find a 1-rep max at all with these student athletes, or are you just, is this more just teaching?
Oh, no, I am a Bible beater. He asked, I'm working on it. Do I find, are we doing a 1-rep max? Are we getting to that? Or are we just teaching progression? Great question. I am a biblical believer in a 1-rep max for many, many reasons. So we are on a periodization of 8 weeks where we will test every 8 weeks with our athletes. Now, if you're not a 3 on some things, you're not going to test on those movements, okay? Now, I'll let a kid back squat with a heel lift, but if it's a heavier weight for like a record or board, they won't get it. But no, we want an RM every 8 weeks. Yes, sir.
In general, how long would you say it would take a new athlete to get to the point where they're receiving the bar and the clean?
Okay, the question is, in general, how long will it take an athlete to kind of get highly effective or proficient? I think that has a lot of variables to it. There's been athletes I had when I was at Warren Central. I could model the power clean, and a 145-pound kid could clean 225 like this because God made them that way. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think it really varies. And also, it's kind of like seeing a physical therapist. Are you working on your progressions at home? Are you doing the interventions we're putting in place for you? Because you can tell if they do or they don't. Most of our kids, let's be real, the only time they're doing these things are with me. And I'm okay with that. We were having that conversation last night. In the end, we all think about this 24/7, right? We have some kids that are like that, but they have other stuff going on. We're just a part of their universe for certain times at that point. So a kid who's not getting there quickly enough, there's conversations, relationships, that kind of stuff there. But it's a great question. I wish I had a better answer. It's very variable. Yes, sir.
How many athletes are you working with each class?
The question was, how many athletes do I work with within each class? Roughly 115 per class. So what you have is, remember this, when I showed up at Noblesville High School, and I just left Warren Central, who Sports Illustrated rated us the #1 public high school in athletics in the country. We had just racked off 9 state championships in the time I was there, and I'm going to this rural, I'm from Chicago, man. Like, it was crazy. They had 87 kids in a class APC. They couldn't bend, they couldn't move. It was a bunch of white dudes in skinny jeans who weren't very fast, weren't very strong. And if you're watching Noblesville, I love you to death. You know that, but it's the truth. So we progressively got there, and this is what I believe in. And remind me of your question by going on a big tangent. Here it is. This is the whole thing. How do you get that many kids? Oreo cookie. First of all, if you don't like the Oreo cookie, I'm not your friend, okay? But if you have the real Oreo and then the fake one like from Walmart, and you put them right on a table, like right where that projector's at, from here I can't tell a difference. But as soon as I take a bite, you're going to know a difference in the 2 darn things. So are you offering the Oreo cookie to get those kids, and I hate the word buy-in. I loathe it. I get it. Ownership. I don't want buy-in. Buy-in is mine and maybe a coach's idea, and a contingency of success are the athletes just doing it. No, it's ownership, bringing people to the table, making it about them. So once those numbers started to raise, then we had to get the new facility, thank you to Hammer Strength, and play, all those good things there. And what we do for assignments for teachers is, in Noblesville, each teacher must have 6 assignments of courses. So like our basketball coach, he teaches world history. 3 of them are history in one day, then 3 of them are athletic weights. So I will have 2 teacher coaches with me. So that's a 3. I'll have an intern or 2. It puts us at 5. And I have a wellness IA assistant that's certified. I know I went way beyond your answer, but I know some people are probably going to ask that last one there. What else do we have? I saw a few other hands. Nothing? There's got to be something. This is good stuff. Yes, sir.
So what's the most important thing that you learned within the past year? You get a lot of new kids coming in, and how do you make your adjustments?
The question was, what's the most important thing I've learned in the past year with our athletes here? Actually, this year it's been a little harder for me because my wife's had health issues. I haven't been around as much, which has actually really been hard with the relationships. I would say the hardest part is getting to know them as fastly as I need to. So my wife gave me a great idea about 10 years ago, minute meetings. Okay, if you've got a group of 20 kids, I'm going to know you 6 ways a Sunday. I mean, 115, then our speed development, we have 450 kids there. So how do you have a relationship with that many kids? And the reality is, you're working with the ones who need it or the ones that are causing you issues, right, with behaviors. So one of the things that I reflected upon is I needed more time for relationships. So what I do is this, I use Google Docs. And right outside my office, one of the coaches will have our class roster, and then I'll have it live with me. So we call the athlete up there in groups like 2 or 3, and they'll put in little things like what sports you play. This is right in the beginning. And then like what's your hobby or what's an interesting fact. So what's weird though is if you're meeting with one kid talking to him, you'll see your computer screen filling up with information. It was Miles, correct? So Miles, you walk in there, I'm like, hey, what's going on? You make eye contact, sit down. I got 1 minute on my iPhone, and we're going to talk. And let's say you hunt Bigfoot in your free time. And I say that because I had a girl, that was her like free time thing. I'm like, Miles, tell me about Bigfoot. You know, what's your Sasquatch call? And you're like, whatever it might be, right? Well, this is a true story because this same girl who said this to me, 2 years later, comes back to train from Indiana University. As soon as she walks in, I'm like, and she starts laughing and runs over. So that's the biggest thing, is constantly finding ways to connect more with the kids. And that's why you have different information platforms like the MetroFit and the Conducts, and I know Elite Forum. All technologies have it, but utilize those things. I actually caught 2 suicidal kids from using MetroFit. They were kids that weren't going to talk in a weight room. Their STAR TT scores were really low, and I messaged them like, hey, what's going on? And I'm obviously, for privacy reasons, not going to get into it, but I was blown away with the things that they were dealing with. And it was like, wow, I never would have caught this if I didn't use this technology piece. But my one PSA of technologies, whatever you use, great, but you better use it. If you don't talk to the kids about their RTTs and RPEs, it's going to go out the wayside. Any other questions? That was a good one. The mini meetings are pretty good. I'll be honest with you, I was shocked. I won't tell my wife that one. No. She won that one.
Hey, Coach, out of those 115 that you have,
Yes, sir.
how many of them just never clean?
Great question. Out of the 115 students that we have, how many of them never clean? I'm going to break that down. There are certain athletes that maybe their first year, 1.5 years, they don't. Okay? But then by maybe their 3rd or 4th year, they are. So it variances. I've never had an athlete never not do it in 4 years. But it depends on the pace that they're at. Okay? And most of them, within a semester, are fine. But I really, this is where I messed up early on. I would teach and expect kids to do it. I really go slow to go fast when we start in August and September, and then we get term changes in January. Excuse me, our retention rate's very high, so we don't have to teach as much. But then like right now, I have our 5th or 8th grade kids coming in, so we're teaching them all the, if you want to look at block 0 concepts, whatever now. But that's a great question. But they'll all eventually get there, but depends on how bad they want to work. But that goes back to the code of principles. And I'm not going to say our kids are perfect by any means. We have guiding principles all the time, and they're for everybody. No one is bigger than the program. No one is. So if you're hitting the check boxes, you get to do this. And if you don't, you don't. Doesn't mean I don't love you any different. I got your back. We're still together. But when a college coach comes asking, well, this is how she rolls or he rolls, So, and I take great pride in our kids. They're really good movers. They're good benders. They're not the strongest and fastest, but their mobility's good. And we had a young man just the other day, 2 Division I colleges came in, and all we had him do was go on a BOSU ball, single leg RDL, and I had him do a hip routine. We didn't squat anything. He's strong, and they were blown away by his hips because he's only 6'4", and he's at that marker where they need him. And I'm like, I'm telling you, watch him move. And football coaches always talk about feet. What are good feet, football coaches? Nobody can give me a really good answer, right? I can get into it. I'm like, watch this kid's feet because of ankle mobility, stability, and watch how his hips are. So that's a different conversation I can get into because I know I got to wrap things up. I appreciate it. Thank you. This is awesome. I'll be around, and we are together. Appreciate it.